We will soon be talking to Councilor Gary Kelliher, I hope. He's sitting in the Alexandra. It's just ironic in actual fact, because Tony, who in actual fact was born in the Alexandra, now our next guest actually I think lives there in central Otago. One of the regional councils going into open conflict with the government tomorrow. We'll be talking to him very shortly about that. And also, I have to say about the drought, which has taken over a good part of the South Island at the moment and shows no indication of giving up. Gary, we've finally got you. By God, man, you're an elusive individual.
I am, sorry. I haven't been deliberately hiding away from you. I'm just, things are a bit manic at the moment.
All right, well, things are about to get a bit manic tomorrow, it would appear, down in Otago. Your council, I see, has decided that it will resist the blandishments and convincing letters and meetings with government ministers, and it will plough ahead with a land and water plan infused by something called Te Mana o Te Wai, but it will just delay it by 6 months, but essentially carry on irrespective of the fact there's been a change of government. How does that sit with you, my friend?
Well, in what other faction of life would that happen? In what other corporate, what other organisation? Where would that possibly happen where it wasn't almost bordering on corruption? It does not sit well with me at all. And I guess maybe you feel similar. It's just appalling, it's non-acceptance of a new government and a new direction. And the worst thing about it is it puts our ratepayers and stakeholders, it misleads them. We've got two very divided factions within council and across the stakeholders as well. You either support primary production out across the region or you don't.
Now, obviously, your council, just to explain to listeners, has its political power base pretty much in Dunedin, an urban area, and your councillors have pretty much sort of a left Labor type flavour at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. That's certainly, they say they're there for everybody, but it's very clear that they're not.
And two of them, I think, are either Green Party members or affiliated with the Green Party. Is that right too?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I think definitely Green Party members. One was financially funded through his election campaign to win a seat.
Okay, well, that's democracy, I guess, at the end of the day, and that's the way the region's made up. But it seems, from what I can read, Tony, is that your staff, and that's the senior policy staff, are the ones leading that defiance. They are recommending to the government, to your council, as I understand it tomorrow, to go on that path of defiance. Have I got that right or wrong?
You've got that right. And they tread this really fine line. I stupidly got hauled out of a meeting last Wednesday, and I stupidly apologised to the chief executive because I had said that, staff had been bulldozing ahead with this plan. And then we see the staff recommending report, which recommends ignoring the ministers and bulldozing on with the plan. And so I'm just mulling over ways I can rescind my apology now because, the staff know that they've got a majority of Green, sort of left-wing councillors sitting around that table, and they want to utilise that as best they possibly can in pushing this forward. Now,
this is not just an Otago issue. I understand the Taranaki Regional Council have a similar, certainly staff view, which has been pushed around their governance table as well. Is there something about regional councils that attracts left-wing Green staff that have quite an influence on policy development, do you think?
Yeah, I think there is. I think when you look across the staff of the ORC, and it's grown in the last 5 years from about 160 to 350. They always seem to find those staff, but when they present to us, they always seem young. They and I think it's become a very helpful, convenient positioning for employment when you've come out of university and you've been indoctrinated into how bad the rural sector will be across the country, and once you're out there with your degree and you're into gainful employment, then you're going to learn that there's a lot of things you've got to change. And regional councils seem to be the sort of seating that these people arrive at, and There's a noticeable change in how the staff interact with farmers. There's quite an authoritarian tone being taken, which I've taken a few examples to the chief executive of, where there have been statements made, like from staff, when a farmer pushes back against them, that, oh well, we've got deep pockets, we'll see you in court. And so, and the chief executive, to his credit, has acknowledged that type of thing is wrong. But it shows to me that, the positioning of councils like these have just evolved to a point where they think they absolutely know best, and they're going to use the ratepayers' funds to keep doing that, whether they do or they don't.
Now, at the heart of it, this is a quite easy battle to characterise as farmers seek access to water to grow food on one hand. Environmentalists and iwi, Maori interests, seek to deny the farmers the access to that water. They say for ecological and for cultural reasons. Have I got that right? I mean, it's that simple, that divide?
Yeah, I think it is that simple. And but there seems to be a need to strive towards utter perfection in our water quality. And so, there are attributes that the national policy statements and others require us to work towards on the health of our rivers. And so suddenly staff and councils want every attribute to be met at every moment that the river is running. And so what they do, you see, is they're sampling. Like most rivers are tested across the country very regularly, and they take those samples in floods and high rainfall and times when a river would be naturally discoloured anyway, and then they portray it as degraded. And then they look to who do we blame, and they say, well, in the headwaters of a catchment, we can go up into and my local one here and others. And the water is supposedly pristine, and then even when there's a rainfall, it supposedly hasn't worsened, but it would be, it won't have the E. coli element that you do see further down a catchment, but that is only there for a very short period of time after a flood or a heavy rain, and then it returns back to its pristine state. And by and large, we're very lucky. Otago's waterways are in very good health, and they are continually portrayed as degraded, mainly as a term that is related to water being taken out of them, as opposed to actually being truly degraded. And, in my mind, there's very little to fix here. And those that can be fixed are underway with being fixed, and a good job being done. The Otago Regional Council don't recognise that at all, and would rather portray the farmers here as being degraders.